Hey yo, welcome to Beyond the Mat, where it's all about the things and stuff. It's like this and like that, sitting in a lotus seat. We breathe deep from our heads to our feet till we feel inner heat. A little bit of rhythm for your soul, stretching out your minds from your head to your toes. We in our flow state, we don't know no hate. We into feeling great though, so we correlate. Coil snake gonna rise, sunshine. We take our time to appreciate divine grace. It takes place in a pace in them inner states. From a country road down to the interstate, we contemplate this. We here to make this. We here to break this. But we never fake this. We never hate kids. We in the love vibe. Me and my whole tribe. We gonna try to be fly with the sunshine.
Hello, beautiful people.
That's
and
right.
welcome to Beyond the Mat audio podcast. I have to mention that because there's also a Beyond the Mat video series that I do on YouTube if you're interested in seeing me when I'm talking. This show is brought to you today by the colors green, brown, and some light yellows. If you're listening to this, you already know how to find a podcast. If you're not listening to this, we are made possible by Anchor.fm for the hosting and distribution to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Overcasts, among a few more that are being added every week. Today's guest, Josh Coleman, is an old friend of mine who donated some of his precious time to chat about a variety of topics from yoga to spirituality, technology, plant medicines, being an entrepreneur, and a whole other variety of things I'm leaving out right now. You gotta listen to the show. Josh is a facilitator of presencing meditation, teaching this practice to his private students and at university classes here in Canada. Ladies and gents, please make some noise for my friend, Josh Coleman. So, welcome to the show, man. This is called Beyond the Mat. All the things that happen...
Beyond the mat.
All the things that happen off the yoga mat. Which is
Cool.
Everything.
Which is most of life indeed.
Pretty much everything else.
Sure, man. I just wanted to preface this by saying it's really cool to do this podcast with you because you worked at our center in Halifax for a while, and I've known you for, 8 years now, and in completely different contexts.
Yeah.
Before the spiritual thing started to happen for both of us, really.
Yeah. Geez, I mean, I came from more of a party background is where I was coming from, and being a rapper and a musician, but also a business guy wearing suits every day and dealing with a lot of business people.
I watched you go through a pretty big transformation when you grew that beard, and then you came to the center and you were teaching yoga. And I remember this being, that's fucking cool, man. Good on you, mate.
Yeah. So for people who don't know what the center is a place. Or was, it's not. It was.
Yeah.
It was a really awesome open space in Halifax in Nova Scotia where people could just gather together. You guys had everything like potlucks, jam sessions. There was the yoga room.
Yeah, we had dance parties as well and meditation, and people came to do talks and stuff like that. It was a really cool spot.
Yeah.
The coolest part about it for me, I guess we have to... Anyways, the type of openness we were looking for was to try to not even create overly hippie cliques. You know what I mean when I say that?
Right.
It's good when hippies are around, but I'm just saying, we were trying really hard to open a space that a doctor could walk in off the street, and we're not going to bombard them with things. We're not going to be like, yo, you need to do it like this. It's more like, okay, look, we're all exploring these different things, but it's not necessarily a dogmatic thing.
Right.
So the goal for the center was to be the center between communities as well. And when I'm creating spaces like that are physical, but also creating space in my life around people, the goal is to hold an openness that isn't even biased towards it's hard to explain. It's not even you need to be alternative, because then that becomes almost like a form of domination. It's more like, hey, do you want to try this alternative thing? Or do you want to play with this? Or how do we even combine what might be considered alternative and things that might be very commonplace in order to not exclude, or at least to not isolate?
Right. You're not trying to continue an us versus them mentality with that.
That's exactly the thing.
Keep it more inclusive.
And it was kind of hard to hold that space open, just because, it's really, really easy to get us versus them. It's the easiest thing in the fucking world, basically, to get us versus them, whether it's between philosophies or between the genders or between anything. You know what I mean? It's really easy to be like, we're this group and you're that group, and we believe in this and you believe in the opposite, therefore fuck you.
Yeah.
And and my goal in life is to create spaces where each, if integrative it's called, it's integrative thinking, and integrative spaces where people are just in the same space, and maybe they believe the same thing, maybe they don't, and the goal is just not to impose on each other.
Right. So when, like you said, when a doctor walks in off the street, you don't want him being bombarded with like, here, you need to hold this crystal in your hand, and you need to like hop on one foot and focus your chi to the top of your head.
Exactly. And at the same time, if someone who came in who's into crystals, the goal is to be like, yo, here's some crystals, I want to play with those too.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
But that's exactly the goal, because I have noticed that in a lot of the alternative movements and stuff, there is still an edge of fuck you. We got it right, you got it wrong, fuck you.
Yeah.
But just to take an example with the doctor, if our hospitals had all of the things they have right now, including pharmaceuticals and stuff, but then also included, preemptive, dietary, yoga, meditation, preemptive things to make it so that things maybe didn't get as bad as they had to before you use pharmaceuticals and surgeries, that'd be awesome. But I don't think we need to throw it away. It's more like, how do we bring this thing all together? It's one big ass tapestry, right?
Right.
How do we include? There's a term in Ken Wilber's philosophy of spiral dynamics, which is include and then transcend.
Right.
So whatever we can include, we can then transcend and evolve into something more.
Right, and kind of maybe package it all together. But the thing going on right now, I find, like you were saying about how it's like us versus them, or some people are like, fuck you, we're right, you're wrong. Kind of what else is happening at the same time, maybe parallel with that, is that right now in this day and age, people aren't buying the bullshit anymore. People aren't buying the current paradigm, the status quo. They're not buying into that anymore. And now that's opened up a revenue stream for everyone else to now roll out their board game. This is the new board game.
Yeah.
These are the rules. This is how it is, and this is what you got to do to get better. And I mean, this goes all the way back, if you look at it deeply enough, to like even things like Sigmund Freud and shit like that. You know, they painted a picture. They told you what was wrong, and they told you that they knew how to fix what was wrong. And I kind of feel it's the same thing.
And very mechanistically as well, right? It's very domination based as well.
Exactly, too.
And the only reason I had that slight critique of the hippie culture, the alternative culture, is because I'm a part of that. So it's easier for me to speak to.
Yeah.
But the point of the fact that the reason those were created is because there was already a domination paradigm in effect.
Right.
So that's why I'm hoping we can include and transcend and just like and integrate, basically. Like it was exactly what you described, like the way that it was set up, like that. In other words, the doctors were the authority that were 100% right.
Yeah.
No matter what you felt on the inside or whatever you explored wasn't correct, or that was definitely the way it was.
Right.
And
like I'm saying,
man, I just really hope to see this cool new thing be born where we're like, well, let's take from everything and figure out what actually works and what's best, you know?
Right. Like, again, like you keep saying, more inclusive and get everybody involved. Yeah. It's not, us versus them. So that's cool. How does one go about even doing that, though, in this day and age of paradigms crumbling around us?
The best way, in my opinion, because we're already creating, like when we created the center, that was very much, we're getting out of society to do something new, and it was really amazing. But I'd say that, honestly, once this stuff is in universities, and I have the privilege to teach meditation at Dalhousie quite regularly, once this stuff is in universities, that becomes a whole different game. Like, once it's in the mainstream, then we can play with it a little bit more, right? And, like, explore, experiment, and do scientific testing. You know, like, you're exploring these different diets. If one of them truly works and it's replicated over and over again, you can say, fuck, this actually does work. You know, like, and even if you know that, and a lot of people already know that, we still do live in a world of varying degrees of density, right? And I think that sometimes, like, I'm a proponent of the hospital system, schooling system, and government and everything even being expanded and evolved upon.
And I also think sorry, go ahead.
If the evolution is anarchy, that works too, but just the evolution being important. So.
I was just going to add to that I think everything on a case-by-case scenario, too. Like, we can't keep having blanket coverages that they don't work. So, like with the diets, I've been doing the ketogenic diet. It works for me. It works great for me. I haven't run into any of the troubles that some people document running into. I haven't had any of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know it doesn't work for everyone. I know there's people...
It's that exact mentality, man. If people started to have that exact mentality, because that's an exploration, it's an experiment, right?
Right.
Like, even the Buddha never told people to do any particular practices or diet. He just said, well, try them. And if they work, keep going. You know, like, it's more about experience rather than philosophy or theory at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be cool to try and maybe target different demographics in another way. You know, try and get like into things like meditation, for example. Try and find like more of like maybe the mainstream workforce, kind of the blue collar workers.
Fuck yeah.
There's got to be a way
yeah,
so that they don't look at the guy teaching it and go like, oh, another damn hippie, I'm not listening to this. There's got to be a way to get them on board.
It's funny you're saying this, man. That's actually my goal. My goal is to, because for example, maybe 3 days ago, I did a meditation with 2 people who are farmers.
Right.
And when I'm at Dalhousie, when I'm doing it, for example, I know that you're very much into this, and so am I. I never say the word chakras.
Right.
Very purposefully, I never say the word chakras because that's going to shut them right off, right? I never used spiritual or flowery language.
Right.
And through the meditation practice of presencing, which is not a visualization-based thing, is what I teach, we go into the body. So imagine we're going into the heart. First you feel the actual skin on your chest, and then go deeper and feel the blood pumping out of your heart, and then go deeper, and as you keep going deeper, it becomes more and more subtle, right? And the more subtle it gets, the more you're eventually just feeling these subtle light vibrations. And those subtle light vibrations is the chakra. But if we say your heart chakra, a lot of times people will make a mental map out of it. So they're like, cool, I have this chakra, it's green, it looks like this, it feels like this, but that oftentimes can be a bit of a mental or more like a theory-based thing.
Right.
And also, again, those words will put off people who are the mainstream. And so when I go to Mount Dalhousie to teach, it's funny, there's a number of times, like it's students that from nursing and psychology and lawyers and all this stuff, and we do these practices, and we go deeper into the body, and eventually people can feel these subtle vibrations in their bodies. And then, it's my favorite thing in the whole world, the next week they'll come back and they'll be like, hey Josh, I did some research on the internet when I went home. Have you ever heard of chakras before? I think I felt my chakra. And I'm just sitting there with a sly smile, because the goal was to set them up to feel that without calling it that on purpose, because I knew they'd be put off by the word.
Right. And
but now they've experienced it.
do you feel like maybe the generation of researching is like kind of passé? Like, because I know being someone who is like coming from a place like New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, we're kind of set back in time back there. And I remember listening to like hip hop music, like early 80s hip hop music. And I remember concepts and words and theories would come up. And I used to go and research. I would get a dictionary. I would go online when the internet finally came around. I would try and research. I'm like, oh, they just referenced some guy's name poetically. I'm going to look up, who is that guy? Oh, and then you find out who the guy is, and you read his whole story and what he's all about. And it would usually be some obscure poet or something like that. And I feel like my generation from before, we're right into that. Like, you would hear something and it would spark an interest to go and research. And I don't know if kids today are researching in that same way.
I really don't know. I know that in the circles that I'm in, again, I'm the same age as you, we definitely Google pretty quickly when a word or a band name or a movie title or whatever comes up. I'm quite a quick Googler. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know what the kids are doing. I'm not hanging out with too many kids. I don't know. Well, what are you kids up to? Are you guys researching? They're just like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, old man.
if I drop a name, are you going to go look it up or what?
Well, the truth is, though, you made a really good point. Is like, what's your age? Are you 33?
Oh, hell no, man. I am like pushing 40 now. I'm getting up there.
Are you really? Fuck. There you go. I'm 33. And the truth is, though, we were in this bizarre time when we were adolescents, like teenagers, when the internet came.
Right.
And that's like fucking weird when you think about it, man. Like at this time where you're already so curious and you're trying to figure shit out, and all of a sudden, boom, here's the an unlimited amount of information about anything that you've ever thought of or wondered about.
Well, eventually there. I started in 95, 93 to 95 on the internet, and there wasn't shit on there. It was pretty empty and barren.
Yeah, Windows 95. That was a big change.
Yeah.
I was over there on Windows 3.1 playing the pinball thing, remember the pinball game?
I had the 3.1, and I used the shit out of that. I remember when 95 came out, it was like, finally something that makes sense. Because everything else had been based upon the DOS system, MS-DOS.
That's right, yeah.
It was before MS-DOS, because 3.1 was based on DOS. And then later, MS-DOS, Microsoft kind of made their own DOS system. Which, if anyone remembers what DOS is, it was the black screen.
I don't know about researching. I hope that people are still researching. It's important to do in its right time. And I know that right now the wealth of information is pretty fucking drastic, man. Like if you, not only can you search it on Google, there's a podcast about it too. You know, there's a a video on YouTube explaining exactly what's up. So hopefully we keep on utilizing that and don't take it too much for granted, which we probably will actually as a humanity.
Have you ever learned anything on YouTube?
Yeah, I had a car, and I was figuring out how to change the oil and do little maintenance things, and it was actually pretty amazing how I was like, okay, cool, he's in the left, and right underneath, right up there, and I was like, that's where I'll go, and I could figure it out like that. It was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. I learned how to roll sushi from watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, nice.
And I've done some minor electronics repairs with like stereo systems and things like that. But yeah, the sushi one, it really stands out because I watched probably 100 videos before I finally clued in what was going on. And each guy would have like one secret little tip. And so after watching enough videos, you could compile all those secret little tricks of the trade. And then, damn, sushi came out amazing.
Very strongly research-based, eh?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, one video is not enough.
Whereas back in the day, though, like you'd have to go to Japan, which would have been quite a feat before airplanes, and then you'd have to learn from each person, which usually would take about 30 years, before they finally told you their secrets. So it is a very strange time to be alive.
Just something simple like dipping the knife in water before you cut each roll. The knife needs to be wiped and dipped in water, and it makes such a nice, smooth, perfect cut. That only one guy ever said that on all the videos. Yeah. And then I'm like, what are those other people doing that they're not dipping their knife in water? Like, what's...
Now all the people that watch your podcast know too. So, the information keeps going.
It just keeps going.
Jay, can I ask you a question? I know that you're the interviewer, but I just like to ask questions.
Yeah,
what would you like to see in the world? If you were to see like a vision for 10, 20 years down the line, what would you like to see?
I would like to see the global paradise that we really should be. I would like to see more nature-based, I guess. I know that's not possible everywhere, but I mean, I find people live in these like beehives in cities stacked up on top of each other. That's a little unhealthy and unneeded. I've been doing earthing. I've been doing at least 30 minutes of earthing every day. Or grounding, I guess, as the professionals are calling it. As the earthing is like the hippy-dippy woo-woo term, but grounding is when you put your feet in the dirt for like 20, 30 minutes every day. So I've been like taking the dog to the park, walking around like that. And
that's great, man.
I noticed when you're up on like those like, even the fourth floor of an apartment building, anywhere higher than that, like you start to get like, I don't know, I get that same feeling like when I've been in the car too long. So you're definitely building up.
Ungrounded is probably a way to put it, right?
Ungrounded, you're building up the positive ions that aren't really that good for your body. Yeah. And so just the fact that, the way of life that we do things. I mean, I would also like to see, and I know this is a big reach, if you've ever heard the story of Turtle Island, how North America is shaped from up above. It looks like a turtle coming up out of the water, and all the water's running off of his back. But since we've gone in and put dams everywhere, the water is no longer able to flow off of the turtle's back into the ocean, and that for everything to be healed within the earth, first we need to start doing things like unblocking dams. I realize the dams have been blocked for a reason, for real estate purposes. So there's like entire cities and towns that would totally be wiped out and turn into swampland if we ever let the dams go at this point. So I don't know if that's ever going to be possible without relocating entire cities.
Right. I personally, I'm looking for compromise. That's the whole thing. And I understand there's a lot of people who are more extreme than me that would call me a cop-out, and there are a lot of people in the mainstream would say, oh, you're a fucking weirdo. But I'm standing right in the middle, man, because, like, when I watch human activity and when I study human history, I see that if one side dominates, it will create a force to then dominate back.
Right.
So in other words, like, that's my only long-term thinking, if you know what I mean. I'm just always thinking, like, it is very possible to create a pendulum swing. Like, that's what we do all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Constantly doing that on something all the time. So my goal is, like, look, we've got a left and we've got a right, but is there a center? You know, like, is it a triangle or is it a line? You know, like, so
but then
I
again,
think that would be really cool, obviously, to help nature in whatever way we need to. And obviously humans are not more important than nature, but as you said, we've also set up things like very strategically around it. So
right.
How are we going to find our compromises? That's the question.
And I mean, people seem to look past the fact that we are nature. We come from the earth. We are this. We're all connected. We're all the same stuff. I mean, people forget that we're animals too. They like to think that, because we think that we're the top of the food chain and we're better than everybody. And it's like, we're better than all the animals. And we're almost, and the other idea that, we're stewards of the earth. Like, we're here to manage everything. It's
right.
like,
Yeah, that's a good point. That shows like a funny hierarchy that doesn't exist, eh?
Right. And it's like, fir trees are only allowed to grow here where we say, and flamingos can only be here in Florida where we say they can be. Right. You know, like, we always want to control.
It's funny, man. I have a little metaphor. It's that humans are trees too. We just can jump so we forget that we are. You know, we can get off the ground like, I'm off the ground now.
Better plant those roots.
Too. We're just not stationary.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how trees look like lungs. I mean, I've had asthma most of my life, and it's just something that clued in, like, within the last year, looking at the tree, the stalk, the trunk coming up out of the ground, and it didn't have any leaves on it, so I guess it was like fall or winter. And I remember just looking up and going like, oh my God, like, that looks like the bronchial chambers of lungs. And then it's like, and what do they have on them? Leaves that do what? Give us air to breathe. And it's like, these things are so important to have. And then you'll see trees in cities, those few lucky trees who are allowed to live, you know, along the side of a street or in a park or like along a sidewalk where they get like a little 4x4 square of dirt to live in. Those trees are just so special. And
you know, I think that there is going to be a really big push towards communes that are nature-based. Like, I know a couple of Nova Scotia that are going quite well, that have that in touchness with nature. And I don't think cities are going to be eradicated, but at the same time, if enough people are interested in that, it might at least balance out a bit, you know? Also, with technology increased, because I don't think it's going to go away either.
No.
Maybe we will at some point. I don't want to bank on this. It's better to just not be dicks to nature, but it could be that, for example, a flying car gets created and then roads literally are pulled up. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, maybe roads will be irrelevant, and then that's an awful lot of space that we can have trees, fruit trees, and all that kind of stuff grow.
Roads are going to become bike lanes.
Yeah, bike lanes, exactly, but they don't need that much space for bike lanes, so maybe you can plant forest or tree lines in the middle of the road. You know?
Have you been to...
So many possibilities.
Have you been here to Victoria since they put the bike lanes in? Because they definitely need roadside bike lanes here.
Yeah, no, I was just in Victoria actually for the first time a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't notice that part.
Oh, they just put these bike lanes in within the last year or so, and so you're not allowed. It's a fine now to drive your bike on the sidewalk. You're not allowed to drive it in the street. That's a fine. You got to stay in the bike lane. And the cars hate everyone on a bike. The pedestrians walking by hate everyone on a bike. And then even the bikers hate everyone on a bike because there's these hardcore cyclists who get dressed up in these outfits like they're in a race, like a race for their life. And then you'll see a man and a woman and the kids, and they all have matching uniforms on, and they're all going for a bike ride on a Sunday. And if you don't know their weird little hand signals, and I wear headphones and listen to music, and I know you're not supposed to do that on a bike, but I do. So I don't hear anyone coming up behind me, and their little bells start going cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Get out of the way! Cha-ching, cha-ching! Because I I just take my time.
Well, okay.
I'm not cruising anywhere.
To circle back to something we were talking about earlier, that was what, and again, I almost feel bad because we're all, the alternative communities, the hippie communities are fucking beautiful. Like, we need as many people actively holding those spaces as possible. But cyclists are actually a great example. Like when you become the thing, you're like, I am not even myself anymore. I am the cyclist.
Exactly.
I dress like the cyclist. I cycle like the cyclist. I ding like the cyclist. It's like there is a human tendency to identify very, very strongly with whatever we believe, whatever we feel, and that creates biases and blind spots. Now, is that a bad thing? Not really. I mean,
really.
Flowers have very unique colors and essences. Maybe it's the same thing. Maybe each human's perception and experience is just like a flower and its uniqueness. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh no!
But like what you're saying, what you're saying right now about the bikers who are very serious about their biking, that's just what we fucking do as humans, man.
And
I'm an army man.
The funny thing is,
I'm a hippie. I'm a doctor. I'm a whatever.
The funniest thing is that these are just people on their way to work in the morning. These guys are getting out and working at the gas station. They're not a cyclist for the rest of the day, and they're gonna take that weird spandex uniform off and shit, dude. I still wear yoga pants every
really
day. I can't shit on anyone.
You start to pull it off.
Yeah.
Can I tell you my favorite wardrobe thing?
Yeah,
For a long time, I was wearing long johns, okay?
Yeah.
But they were perfectly black. Like, they didn't have the white part, so it was just perfectly black long johns.
Yeah.
And when I owned the center, I was just wearing them for everything. And one time I actually went and had a business meeting at a university. And I was sitting there, and we had this business meeting, and we got it all sorted, and it was like, cool, I'm going to be teaching these classes, great. And I left, and I thought, I just did that whole thing in my underwear.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about, though. That's what embracing the freedom of being an entrepreneur and self-employment is, that you get to do whatever you want to do, and you don't have to try and fit in. And it actually, I feel like it helps more than anything. Because, I'm still, I still wear yoga pants every day. I wear different wacky, psychedelic, tie-dye shit that stands out. It's bright. People probably point and laugh at me and everything. But, you know what? It helps. It helps in a way that, people are like, look at Jay. He's just doing what he wants to do. Like, he wears pajamas every day kind of thing.
And right. If we're aiming towards a new style of culture, kind of like, remember how there used to be trends? Like, everyone had the same haircut, everyone wore the same brand or whatever. I hope the new trend is that people just wear whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, whatever's comfortable.
Whatever the fuck they want, I don't know. It's like it's everyone's choice, but it just feels to me, I'm just like, why the fuck can't you do whatever feels right for you in the moment, as long as you're not hurting other people, right? Like, that seems to be the only. There's a pagan saying, "Do as you will, just harm none."
Right.
And it feels like that's feels like that's the only
isn't that
thing to pay attention to. And I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, isn't that the same first line of text in the Satanist Bible?
I'm sure it is.
Do what thou wilt, but harm none, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm butchering that.
I'm not sure, but I do believe there is overlap in those philosophies. I just want to be perfectly transparent. In my life, I have harmed people emotionally and stuff. I've had to go through a very strong healing process because, as you know, Jay, we grew up with a different set of conditioning, and then go through an awakening and go through a different sort of sensitivity and training and all that kind of stuff. That's a really strong process that I think it has. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I wanted just to remind you, because you just said about sensitivity, I wanted to touch down on that whole life of being a sensitive person. And I guess how, man, I'm a sensitive person. I feel feelings that I feel aren't my own. I feel vibrations through the atmosphere. I feel subtle energies. I feel that since I've gotten healthier, that when a car drives by and the exhaust fumes go by, I can really feel it in my blood now. Just breathing in some dirty old car fumes. I feel in doing this ketogenic diet, there's no sugar, there's no carbs. If I eat a little sugary snack today, tomorrow, my whole body's going to be in pain. I'm really sensitive with it. But then that's me, and I know I can have my shit under wraps. But then there's dealing with other sensitive people out there in the world who it kind of makes it it's kind of like put your big boy pants on and come on, toughen up and just get it done. There's still a little bit of that inside of me that just wants to like over and slap somebody sometimes, and it's like it makes it difficult when everybody is like so overly sensitive, and I'm like, I know I do it too, but I have the same hard time dealing with other people who are sensitive as people have a hard time dealing with me and my sensitivities.
Just imagine, this whole world where we're getting more and more sensitive, but we're all annoying the fucking shit out of each other as we're doing it. That's a really funny thought.
Yeah.
Just all these people just getting more sensitive, just be like, fuck off, everyone, fuck off. Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting quandary, and I've become so much more sensitive over the past decade, just through different meditation practices and different openings of the heart and different openings of my vibration and becoming more attuned, that kind of stuff, like. And it is hard to be in certain environments. The one I find the hardest is when you're around a bunch of tradesmen and they're all just like, fucking, they're just weird, rough, like, what are you, a pussy if you don't want to actively hurt yourself or do whatever the thing is they're trying to get you to do. I find those environments the hardest. But I'm noticing that even in, like, for example, I told you before, I'm actually tree planting right now, which has questionable issues involved with the industry and that sort of thing, but there are some teams and crews that are more like that, like more like rough tradesmen, and I'm in one right now that's very, very sensitive, where people are very open about their feelings.
Oh, wow.
Talking through and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of cutting edge in that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping, again, with integration, that even there'll be a construction company where people are sensitive to each other's emotions. I really hope that's where we're going to go. But as you also just said, that if we're getting to the point where we're all knowing each other, maybe we have to also, there's a balance to be had, you know what I mean, of accepting and allowing, and also of being sensitive. There is a balance. I don't think that humans and our culture has ever really found that balance. So here's hoping to do that as best we can as people, and kind of watch as things unfold.
Yeah. Hey, that's on the list. Like the question you asked earlier about where I would like to see the world in another, 50 years or something. That's definitely where it should be going, I would think. And getting back to technology though. When you look at the advancements in technology these days, and how, I don't know, think about how nanobots are going to be soon in our blood. Like you'll go to the doctor with a sickness and you'll get a shot, and machines will literally clean your blood and then you'll pee them out later. You'll have machines that are a cell phone inside your head that you can call anybody at any time. How is that going to affect the environment?
Yeah, it's such a hard question, because I don't know that we can stop that process. And at the same time, it would be wonderful if there was really good oversight to make sure that people don't exploit people or hurt people with that technology.
Right. But also with genetic manipulation, maybe you could literally become that tree. You could be a tree person by the help of nanobots reforming your DNA strands and your DNA codes. And,
I've thought a lot about biotech, and at first I was quite opposed to it, and lately I've just been like, well, if I'm opposed to it and people are literally repairing their livers and stuff, I'm just going to go like an idiot. So a part of me is wondering if I just hope we can find a way that we can use the technology for what it's useful for and then let go of it, rather than relying on even that. I don't know, man. Maybe all of a sudden we'll just be these bionic fucking people jumping on roofs and stuff for fun. I really don't know. I don't. Every time I've taken a hard stance for or against, I'm kind of like, my perception wavers, if you know what I mean. I can see the benefits on both sides.
Whenever I think about bionic people, and I think about and you know what? It's in the Vedas, it's kind of they work hard to get these cities, these magic powers, but the process of getting to that point to have the powers transforms you into someone who doesn't want to use them. And I feel that's the same with the biomachines and shit like that. Maybe I could jump the height of the Empire State Building, but who cares? Because everyone can. So why would you even do it anymore?
No, but honestly, that would be the best case scenario. It's like if you're a martial artist and you realize you don't have to use your fighting skills.
Exactly. It's there to have. I guess if you.
I know. On the subject of technology, I don't have that feeling in me that I want to live forever. I don't have that feeling of I need to be immortal. I'd like to have a good long life that's satisfying because of the just material pleasures and also service to others and all the different things. You know what I mean? I would like to have a very fulfilling long life, but I don't have that feeling of I want to live forever and become immortal. I just don't have that feeling.
You know, geez, man, I'm so on the fence with this one because, for one, it would be cool to live forever and learn everything there is to learn, kind of like some vampire in whatever, like the romanticized version of a vampire who's so cool and knows everything about everything, and by the time you've been living for 1,000 years, you got your shit in order. You probably got a house. You probably got a business by now. You probably got some things. You're comfortable by 1,000 years. And I feel like we're cut so short right now. But I also feel...
They always get sad, don't they? Think about all those fans. They always get sad eventually. They're always... it just goes on and on and on.
Oh, forever. But if dying is the completion of a cycle, though, right? So we're meant, maybe we are meant to die and then be reformed and reborn and over, or whatever. Maybe nothing happens, but maybe it is supposed to end. Maybe that is the thing. Maybe that is the way. But then the other argument is, what if...
You had past life experiences before?
Not really. Not like...
It's one of those things that I try not to talk about too much, even though I'm supposed to do it publicly on a podcast, because because there can be you can make stories out of them, if you know what I mean, and take yourself out of the present. There's all kinds of dangers. Like at a CDC spoke of, that is a CDC to some extent to have that kind of foresight. But the thing about dying is that if there is past lives, then that's a fucking wonderful chance to restart, to review everything that's happened, to learn, and then to move forward into another life. There's definitely a benefit in death if you believe in that. Right. Or I don't even say believe in that, if you have a sense of that.
Right, rather than just have the one life and that's it and you're this forever. But in this one life, let's say right now, let's say I get the injection tomorrow, I got the nanobots, I'm never going to die. Maybe those nanobots are more apt at looking into my own past lives up until this point.
Right, yeah.
Maybe
right, yeah.
because...
And that's the same thing with biotech. Like, if all of a sudden everyone starts to become immortal, and I'm just thinking like, no, I'm happy to die, and then I'm just watching everyone like be immortal and just like dying. I'm just like I don't look an idiot now. like, all right, well, maybe I'll take them too, and then I'm an old man or something. I'm like, fuck, I'm just older there.
They're like, once you pass 90 years old, you can't be immortal anymore. You can't reverse the aging after 90. You're like, shit.
Is that a rule?
Oh, I don't know.
Exactly.
It could be.
Could be a rule, I don't know. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is like I'm trying really hard not to snap in on a yes or a no, even though I just yes, I don't know if I want to be immortal, but it's like I don't know. I'm just really on the fucking fence there. It's like
so the
like with everything. Yeah.
The other argument is that we are nature, and that all these machines are just shit that we dug up out of the ground and repacked it together in a way to make a robot that is also nature. That goes into our body, which is nature. We're just merging nature with nature. So maybe immortality is nature.
There's quartz crystals over fucking phones, man. That's like that. That's what they use for the energy movement. Like the electric.
And in certain laptops too, I believe, and I think in some new televisions. I mean, the shit is crazy when you look into it. I think it's funny how many people don't know about things like that, people.
That's why I'm not anti-tech. I'm not an anti-tech person. And at the same time, technology could become unbalanced. I mean, it already has to some extent, and we could lose track of nature too. It's just so ironic. So every situation in life is a big ball of fucking irony, man. Honestly,
it sure
like
is.
Every single thing. If you look at anything and then you take it one step deeper, you're like, oh fuck, it's also true, and you're just standing there like okay, well. There you go. Like that's like that's a very Taoistic understanding as well, right? Like if you take a hard stance on one side, the opposite's also true. So then what the fuck are you left?
Right. You're just creating more duality by taking a stance too far on one side. By having a side.
Too far, yeah.
Just by having a side, that makes the other side possible. Like you don't even have to write.
That's the theory.
We could take a piece of paper, a white piece of paper right now, and write down our beliefs on one side, and the other side has nothing on it. There's still another side. No one might not have been described in English yet, but it's there. It exists.
Yeah.
The duality exists because
and maybe we can't ever escape duality, but keeping an eye on the center of like just on duality in general, I do find helpful personally. It's helpful and also very fucking confusing.
Case by
because
case.
Then, again, even though I'm a person who does healing and I use energy work for that healing, which I don't believe in it. Believing it is kind of useless. I experience it and practice that. I still think that, for example, when I got salmonella, if I didn't have antibiotics, it would die.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like there's always this mix of the two truths. There's like, it seems to me that preventative stuff like energy healing and like dietary changes and yoga and meditation, preventative health, which kind of just seems like it should be normal, but is when that's just a thing that should be the case for all of us, and we really rightfully should be taught that in school and all that kind of stuff. And then the doctors and the pharmaceuticals and surgery and stuff like that would be for the blunt cases that have gone so far.
Yeah.
Or like I have a friend whose kid had eye cancer when she was 2, so I mean, it's like you can't really be like, well, you should have eaten that. I mean, she was fucking 2 years old. So like there is always a place for that kind of stuff. I just think that we often jump the gun and presume I'll just wait until I'm almost dead and then I'll do the surgery rather than doing some sort of healthy lifestyle beforehand,
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you know, but I was in a really bad car accident when I was 7 years old, and I had a 4x4 post of a wagon smash me in the head, and I had brain injury. Skull was smashed open, stuff all over the road, and like my dad was like picking me up, trying to put pieces of my head back together and get me into another car. So yeah, without technology, I would definitely be dead right now. And for a long time, back in my like old, more like before, I call it pre-awakening, Jay. I was very jaded, and I remember thinking like I was supposed to fucking die in that car accident. Stupid humans intervened with their technology, blah blah blah. But then along that same method of thought, along that same train of thought, maybe if that's true, then the car that I was in should have never been built. So like, where does it end?
Right.
The hospital I was born in should have never been existed.
Trace it all the way back to the first atom.
Exactly. Just goes all the way back. And so I totally feel.
Yeah, but I think that's why I think the whole message behind this particular dialogue we're having right now is just that things are complex. And like you
complex.
said, there was a non-complex view, which is why did I have to live? So the complex view is like, well, why is anything anything?
Yeah.
And it does make things more confusing, but at the same time, I think it's probably better to be a little confused and have that complexity than to be willfully ignorant and just kind of rail on one side of something. That's what I think, anyway.
Life is complication, though. That's what it is. Things are getting more complicated, and this is something I learned from studying again, like Sanskrit and Hindu stories and shit like that.
Yeah.
When you go all the way back, there was this story, basically a creationist story, right, about explaining what the world is, and it was so simple and so easy and so basic, and then people took that story and they told it to another person, and that person added something, and they told it to someone, to another town, and they added some stuff, and they added some stuff. And then it just spread, and people kept complicating and adding. Well, you know what? Let's tell the story about when that guy went across to this other desert to go meet another guy. Like, we always just say he went to meet the guy, but what happened in between? Let's try and fill in the blanks, and complicate. So everything just gets more compoundedly complex every day that goes by. And I'm
I can say that is true for my own personal life. So why the fuck wouldn't it be true for the bigger picture?
Exactly. It all just fractals out, man, in a beautiful spiral pattern. What do you do for like your own? Like, I know you teach meditation, which I know can sometimes be different from a meditator's own personal practice. So what do you do for your own? What's your own thing right now?
Yeah, so I've got this thing. It's hard to describe because it's pretty wordless, but it's just like being... Okay, here's an easy way to put it. When you can look to both sides of your peripherals, so like all the way to the left and to the right at the same time?
Right.
I try to keep my perspective in the most literal sense open. And feel my heartbeat and feel the crest of my body. So So it is the practice that I teach as well. But it's like I try to just be in that state all the time, really. Like there's no time not to do that. So it's hard to explain. But like, have you done that kind of thing before? Like, do you sit and feel your heartbeat?
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
At this point, I've tried hundreds of different things, and
so it's just, to me, it's just called presencing, and there's not much more to it. It's not very complicated. So in a very visual sense, making sure that I'm not thinking in a way that curbs my perception. So in other words, when I'm looking at a tree, I'm trying not trying anything really, but just like not jamming in and going, that's a tree, but just keeping it so I'm looking at a tree right now. Keeping it so I can see the tree, but I can also see in my peripheral all the other trees at the same time.
Right.
So that's in a very, very practical, physical sense, that is the perspective work that I do all the time, and the meditation that I teach is an expansion upon that.
Right.
Yeah, but that's it, man. That's like, I know it sounds crazy, but that's it. Like, everything ends. I try very hard to trust the flow of intuition and words that come through as well.
Right.
So I find certain words will almost speak themselves through me. As long as I don't try to put too much pre-thought into them. So in other words, if I'm not like, I know, if I were to say this, then this person will think that. And we all have that aspect of ourselves, but that's something that I try hard not to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then to just, in the moment, there'll be a word that will come out of nowhere, a sentence or a joke even. I like to keep things light. Or an intuition, like you can tell you can help somebody because they've got something going on. But without thinking, I'm going to try and help this person, just allowing that flow or that channel to come through kind of by itself. That's my practice in the world.
Cool. I don't know. I get ideas. I get.
Like a friend of mine and I were driving in a car the other day, and she had a thought, and I could feel it because with this open perspective thing, it means I'm not thinking about too much stuff myself, and so I can feel other people's thoughts really strongly. And I just said, "Oh, loud." Oh, yeah, I see that you're feeling this and this. And she's like, how the fuck did you do that? And I'm like, oh, it's not really a doing. You know what I mean? But there's nothing to do. It's just if you're open in your perspective, those things are there anyway. That's the habit to use yourself. Just open and see it.
Right. So do you ever get do you get ideas like when you're in the depths of it? Because that happens to me all the time. I get like the best idea, and I'm like, I'll remember that. I'll remember that when my meditation hour is up. I'll write that down.
You know, yeah. Sometimes I'll write stuff down, but honestly, having good friends around has been the biggest thing to help that. So having friends that are more grounded, whereas I'm not as grounded in that way.
Right.
Like for example, we're launching a website called Livestreams pretty soon, and it's a live streaming thing that people can also donate. So you, Jay, could be doing your podcast, and people could donate to you, kind of like Twitch, except for other things. And specifically, we're going to be for spirituality, but it's just for everything.
Right.
And when that idea came through for that, I was basically manic. Like I was like, oh my god, like it could be this, and it could be that, and it could be this, and I just like I was in this really deep, fucked up, cool state. But it was when I started to say the ideas to a close friend of mine who's grounded that it started to become reality.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right. Now, with me, the trouble is just even remembering the idea at all. So, like, I'm 20 minutes. Right, yeah. I'm 20 minutes into a meditation, and then I still have another 40 minutes to go, and I have this great idea, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect, and then it's gone.
Well,
it's gone.
There would be a little argument that you don't really need to know if it doesn't come back naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like, what I tell myself.
Like, no, fuck this, I want that idea.
No, that's exactly what I tell myself to make myself feel better about losing the idea. I'm like, you didn't really need it. If it's important, it'll come back at the right time.
Well, here's a question.
They
you know, have you heard the word Akashic Records? Like, it's kind of like your soul journey or whatever.
Definitely.
There's also a version of that that's localized. So in other words, like, you can tap in, so it's not like a big idea like in the forefront of your mind, but you can make it so your subconscious remembers those things and can deliver it to you on time as well.
Right. It's kind of like having those little home servers that people have now. Like I saw them at Walmart. There's these. It's like a hard drive.
That's exactly what it is.
For your whole home. Yeah. Everybody can access it from wirelessly or your phone or whatever giant storage device kind of thing.
Exactly. So you can set your brain up like that. And when teaching meditation in schools and universities, I often try to hint towards that as a possibility for people in exams, for example. So a lot of times when we're trying to do exams, we're like, okay, I studied it. It looked like this. Like, it's this date, it's this thing, it's this thing, it's this thing. But the more that we say it over and over again, to some extent, we're actually dulling our subconscious connection. because we're so fucking focused on that outward expression, right? So it's like this. And what I'm always saying to students, like, did you read it, first of all? Were you in class, second of all? If you were, trust that your subconscious is going to be there for you in the moment. And a lot of people reported back when they were doing that practice that they were able to remember during class.
Yep. It reminds me of studying, and I would be at home, and of course when I'm home, I would be smoking weed. And when I would go to write the test, I remember going like, oh, geez, I better not get high during this test. And I would fail those tests. But the tests that I figured out, I was like, oh, maybe I should smoke the weed, because I was in, my mind was in this other zone. And if I put myself back in that zone.
The weed was your server.
Exactly. It was facilitating this other, like, another room in my head. It opened the door up to that room where all the information was. And without the weed, that fucking door was locked, barred shut with guards and everything. Like, I couldn't get in there.
And did it work though?
Definitely. And I'm not saying like don't get baked, don't smoke a whole joint to yourself. It's like a pipe load, a couple little puffs, and then it would just kind of, and you're relaxed a little, takes the edge off, takes the pressure off, and you kind of just float in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, that honestly sounds ideal.
Yeah. Shit, I haven't even. I'm down to like one session per month now for weed, and it's so weird that now that I'm here in BC and it's like totally legal. And
how does it feel to not be as chronic?
Not be as groggy and everything?
Chronic, sorry.
Oh, chronic. Yeah, chronic is definitely the word. I mean, I was an all day, everyday smoker. Like, wake up in the morning, there's a pipe next to my bed, blaze a bowl, and I'd have it packed the night before, make sure that it's ready for when I wake up. And then just, I didn't smoke joints all day, but I had a pipe, and like an old man pipe, like a classy wooden pipe, and I'd keep that in my pocket. And shit, man, I remember 2007 down in Halifax on my way to work, and I'm standing at like a crossroad, and people are all gathered in the mornings, like 7 in the morning, and I would just pull out this pipe, take a little blast, put it away, and I remember people like, do you smell dope? And looked right at me, and I was like, no, man, I don't do that shit back then. And
don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. Because like you'd have your pipe put away already, and people were like, I swear I smell marijuana. So going from like
sorry, go ahead.
Going from an extreme all day, everyday smoker to once a month, first thing I noticed was clarity of mind, ambition to do stuff in life, like live a life again, a desire kind of returned, like, whereas like I would totally be okay just fucking Netflixing it all night, every night, and it just melted all that shit away. And now I'm like more active. I want to do things. I want to go out and be around people more. Not so much of a recluse. I don't know. It's game changing.
I'm happy that you went through that process, man.
It was pretty cool.
I also smoked pot every single day. It was mostly at night, but every single day for 13 years. And just at the end of October, I went through a pretty fucking hard breakup and actually had a bit of a mental health thing arise, and so I stopped smoking weed then, and I haven't had a puff since.
Oh, wow.
And but same as you were saying, man, the clarity and that kind of stuff that came.
Oh, incredible.
I don't want to be baked all the time anymore. So for now, I'm just going to see how long I can ride that. Because it's like an experiment. So there's nothing before. It's not like a hard, I'll never or I'll always. It's more like an experiment. What's good for me right now.
Exactly. I'm not saying it's a definite for everything, but for right now it's good. And I even cut out smoking too. I'm now just doing little edibles. I make my own little edible drops and just take a couple drops of those.
Awesome.
And holy shit, dude, it's like a whole other trip. It's a whole other experience. Like smoking it is all in your head. It's cloudy. It's groggy. It's like someone's running a vacuum cleaner inside your mind. Like,
yeah.
And then eating it is like, it's such a full body experience. And I feel
I've always
more connected. I feel like I can feel my surround. It's like your knee can't really feel the room. Like your knee doesn't feel a desk being next to your knee. But when I'm on edibles, my knee feels that desk next to it. Like my body, total awareness increases.
Just to make it super clear, that is the processing meditation I was talking about.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. So like my one practice is to be the skin. So you're not just like feeling it like it's my skin. It's you are the skin feeling. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Throughout the whole body. And then if you draw it deeper, you can go deeper into the feeling of the blood flow and tissues and all that kind of stuff. And then if you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, it becomes more subtle and more formless. And so eventually it is just goes in that space that you feel like 100 meters ahead of you extend your senses of the formlessness outside.
Right. And it's possible too, so I've read, that you can extend your feeling that far away.
Yes. You can go all the way into the cosmos. When people talk about traveling to the stars, they don't mean their physical body, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Riding the space all the way.
And like you mentioned the Akashic records earlier, I had a crazy experience when I was like 16 years old. I just started learning about occult practices, and I learned about astral projection, and I was trying it out in my bed. And man, I was whisked away, like visually in my mind. I was whisked away out of my house, up through the stars, through the heavens, through everything, till there was nothing. And I ended up at this building that like a stone building, but like giant stone pieces, kind of like giant pyramid sized stone pieces. And I went in, and then there's this front like lobby, and you could look up to these cathedral ceilings, and it was bustling with, I don't even want to say people, just with spirits or entities of some sort. And they were just in there gathering information. And then as I looked around, I was like, oh, you know, and your mind starts to fill in the blanks, right? It starts to project things from your own life to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And so that's when I quickly saw, I was like, oh, I'm in a fucking library. And I was like, wow. And then people were like checking out books and reading stuff and learning. And that was kind of my first experience with an Akashic record kind of vault area. And while I was too young,
DMT.
I was too young and dumb at the time to try and like talk to anybody or ask if I could like sign out a book for the week.
That's cool.
But yeah, I never really went back to that kind of space again. And it's just interesting how I was whisked
cool
away.
Because you can't create, like we talked about the subconscious, that you can create a link that you don't have to actively be looking at. If that makes sense. Like, in other words, you don't have to actually go to the library. You can create energy for it to the library itself.
Right.
And then in the moment, like without trying to kind of go there, it'll just kind of download to you at the right time.
Right. Shit, maybe that explains.
I find those practices more integrated. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it doesn't take any time out of your day. In other words, you can create these links, these energy cords to people, to places, to things, to experiences, and then have them be active chords, but then not actually have to be with your mind or with your sort of vision going there, but still receiving the same benefit.
Right. It's like being connected to Google without actually having to type in the question.
Exactly. And then, as you said, that's going to happen at some point in technology as well.
Right. And that's kind of the battle, isn't it? Is it going to be who's going to win? let's dualistic this thing. Who's going to win? Is it going to be like hippie woo-woo nature stuff, or is the technology going to win? Because technology always finds a way to having a credit card involved for some fucking reason, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas the Akashic records...
If we can just get rid of ads, for fuck's sake.
Get rid of the ads, get rid of the money system. But I mean, maybe that shit's all going to work itself out in the end. Maybe we won't have to...
I think it will.
Maybe we won't have to do the money thing anymore once the machines are here.
I mean, yeah, maybe it's idealistic, but I do think that it will work. I think that over time, as we continue to evolve individually and then together and with such great alternative communities and stuff like that, it's just going to, instead of being like, look, my community's better than yours, fuck you, it'll be like, it just is better, and when people go, they'll be like, fuck, that's better. You know what I mean? Like, it won't be like, I don't know, we'll see. I know that there are a lot of people who have a lot of power that are going to hold on and stuff too, so I try not to be too optimistic, but at the same time, those people have children. Those people's children have the same access to information and to see that everyone else does now too.
Right.
And just, I feel like over time there'll be a natural progression. It's just like a flower, a garden starting to flower. A couple flowers bloom and then they drop seeds and other flowers, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's gonna take time.
Yeah, it'll grow, like you said, like once it gets to a certain point, it'll just grow and it'll just be the way it is. Like the way that like a baby is born now into this world, this is just how it is, and this is how it's always been.
Yeah.
Again, 50 years, whatever, 100 years in the future, whatever has happened, be it robots or magic or whatever, you know, those people will be just magic robots. Those people will just be existing in that, and it is what it is for them.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. Yeah, exactly. And they're going to be like, whoa, are we going to be able to insert whatever the current paradigm is, right?
yeah.
There was Lumeria and Atlantis, or two things you probably heard before, right?
Definitely.
So the idea is that Lumeria was more magic-based, more shamanistic, and Atlantis is more technology-based. And it's almost like, in a weird way, this time period is a combination of two. It could be.
Yeah, like, again, the duality comes back again. And what is it that makes everyone think that Atlantis sunk into the ocean? That's the funny thing. Whereas, like, Lemuria,
well, I mean, also,
it's like, where the fuck's Lemuria?
You know that land masses sink into the ocean still today, right? Like, in other words, like, maybe the time scale wasn't just like, oop, 2 days later, boom, it all sank. It could have been over the course of 10,000 years or something.
Could have been a million years. The water slowly came up, and everybody kept slowly moving away from the shoreline. Kind of like what we're doing.
And the theory behind that is that some land disappears and other lands appear, right?
Right.
Kind of like an ebb and a flow, and I do think that there's something true in that.
Have you ever seen, man, and this is crazy, and I wish if we were doing video right now and I could somehow link it in, there's a video on YouTube of an island being born. This island just comes up out of the water. These people are on a boat filming this from however many kilometers away, and you can see this like gas and bubbling in the ocean, and then it rumbles and steam's coming out, and then just these jagged mountain peaks shoot up out of the ocean, and then that's it. An island has been born, and eventually, you know, after 1,000 years, vegetation will start to grow and animals will start to come there.
Well, how long were they filming it? It was a film, right?
It should be on YouTube.
Was it
just look up island being born.
Was it a projected film though, or was it actually a time lapse of the island being formed?
No, it was an actual time. Like, you can see it happening.
So, I mean, if that's the case, that must have only been 20, 30 years old, right? That just goes to show how we're going to see a lot of changes in land movement, and that has absolutely happened before.
Right.
This is not the first time that's happened.
Right. And it's scary living here right on the fault line out west.
Yeah.
You know, they always talk about the big one. Oh, the big one's coming. Now, here's the funny thing. Yeah. They had a severe tsunami warning over in the fall or in the winter. Man, here's how I found out about it. I woke up the next morning to like text messages and messenger messages of everybody asking if I'm okay. And on these are all people on the East Coast asking if I'm okay over here. None of us anywhere heard anything about any tsunami because we're in such like a media blackout, just the way that life is now, right?
Really?
Yeah. So there's no TV on, there's no radio on. I have ad blocker on everything, so that I don't get interrupted by, you know, things saying like, hey, you might want to save your life, head for high hills. And I just found
Facebook does it though.
Facebook does it, but but the ad block,
it'll come up and it'll say, it'll come up and it'll be like, hey, did you survive that thing? Click here. It's got that new funny feature. You survived the flood in New Brunswick? Yeah, just click right here. Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah. I saw some pictures of my buddies in Fredericton going to work in a canoe, like on streets that we normally walk on down there. It was pretty intense.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a big thing in New Brunswick. Eh?
Yeah, just in the last like couple of weeks. My dad has some shoreline property, and he showed me the water. Like the water goes up a good 30, 40 feet on a regular year, and this year it's up an extra 30 to 40 feet. So like we have
we have a mutual friend. Did you see him having to barricade his house there with a sandbag?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that.
Okay, well, maybe we don't have a mutual friend then.
But my dad's neighbor was doing that too. They were down there schlepping the sandbags, trying to build a wall, and it wouldn't hold.
Do something.
Gotta do something,
Yeah.
but it didn't hold. So I don't know what they did now. Luckily,
Hey, brother,
we don't have anything down on the shore. All we had was
I've
like,
got 12% battery left, so I think we should probably wrap her up soon. But this has been awesome.
oh shit, yeah, for sure, man. I just wanted to ask one more question. Have you ever, and this is just because something I got into recently,
Yeah.
have you done transcendental meditation? And when I look at it as it's a scam. They're charging a shitload of money, but it fucking works. That's where I'm at with it. And I'm like, I'm so, my head is so...
$1,000 once. $1,000 once in a person's life isn't that big of a deal. Everyone always talks about a big shitload of money, but it's $1,000 once. So I mean, like, literally your entire lifetime after you pay the $1,000 you have it. So
Right.
I'm not really too concerned. I also have heard nefarious and weird shit about the organization in general. So I mean, just like all organizations, weird little power things that happen.
Yeah.
That being said, the practice must have an effect, man. I've never done it myself, but it must have an effect. You see people dedicated to it and doing the mantras and
Yeah.
things. So there must be something. Russell Brand does it.
Yeah. Well, shit, that's kind of one of the people that put me onto it. And then once I really started digging deep, I finally found someone to teach me what the big secret is. And that's all it was a mantra meditation. You just, instead of following the breath, you repeat a mantra over and over, over and over, over and over. Oh, there's car payments and children, and I got to eat something. Oh, mantra.
Yeah. Yeah, look, there's different styles of meditation with breathing and with visualization and mantras, and the style that I do is, although we do breathe, we're actually not even focused on breathing, it's all presencing.
Right.
So there's lots of different types. I just feel like if you give the mind one thing, whatever that one fucking thing is, so a lot of people do malas, if you just do the thing, the one thing, then it'll help keep your focus, and like if you are focused so using transcendental meditation with the mantra, if you're focused with your conscious mind, what you do is you're basically not allowing the subconscious to get clouded.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's these little weird techniques where you get into a trance. You're doing the same thing. It's like if you say the word anything over and over and over again, it loses meaning. It's kind of the same thing. It becomes a doorway into the larger consciousness, to the larger presence. Right? So I think that you can do that through many different means, and I'm glad that TM seems to have a good foothold because a lot of people are using it.
And you know what? When they show, whenever they show most of the research, scientific research that's been done on meditation, it's 90% of the time it's the TM organization that has funded all of these studies with the brain entrainment and the scan.
So you guys just keep on doing your thing. A lot of this presencing practice is the only thing that I do, but I'm not exclusive of others. I'm not like, oh, fuck you guys or whatever. I really focus on bringing it to the world. Yeah. It is also in line with non-dual teaching, if you know what I mean by that.
Yep.
I just find that Advaita non-dual type teaching where our thought, the heavier the thought, the more separation it is between ourselves and reality, right? So like we're all these different islands. The heavier that thought is, like I am Josh and I'm like this and I'm like that, the heavier that is, the more disconnected we get between other people, the more silence that exists in that space, the more connected we already are. You're not getting even more connected, we just already are connected.
Right.
So that's basically, it's a very simple thing, and it's very uncomplicated, and that's basically what I've been working with for the last decade. So,
cool. Yeah, man.
Although I haven't done DM, definitely appreciate it, and obviously, like you said, they're very in the world. They're very integrated.
Definitely. I mean, they're everywhere. To like you had just said, the I am thing. I don't know. That is like two of the most dangerous words in the world. To become hyper identified.
Stop right there. Unless you just stop right there. I am. If you can stop at I am, we're good. If you fill in the blank afterwards, it's pretty easy to get divided.
I mean, unless you're saying like I am human, there's a definite. Yeah, I am human. Gender, I don't know. Yeah. Can't really definitely say anything.
It's all very flexible, and even humanity might be a little more flexible than we think. That's that formless space that I am creates is the only thing that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, and hey, once those nanobots are in our blood and make me into a tree person, I am Groot.
I think that's an excellent way to end this podcast, Jay.
I think so, man.
Thank you so much. And if this is something, I really enjoyed this conversational style. If you want to do it again, I'd be super
Definitely, man. So like probably like next month
Yeah.
would be a cool time if
I'd
you got
love
some
to.
free time. Cool.
Yeah, we'll make this a series.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, this is like exactly the direction that I want everything to go on my show. It's definitely all the
It's also
topics.
great, and I know we're still recording right now. It's also great. I just want to say this to do this with an old friend because again, we've seen each other go through so much.
Yeah, man, for sure.
It's cool how that works. I think that's really neat. When I think about Joe Rogan and all his buddies, and how they all have podcasts and they've all kind of like gone through things and they talk about it and stuff. I'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I mean, me too. And like they've all grown together, and like it's not cool to go and try and get on somebody else's game, right? It's not cool to try and go and be in their
Exactly.
crew.
Yeah.
But hey, we can start our own crew, or not even start. We already have it. Like we are our own crew of friends who've gone through things and who are all connected in a way. So yeah, man, it's been a blast having you here. This has been awesome.
Yeah, let's do it again. Like I said, that was a really cool conversation, and love you lots, Jay.
Love you too, man.
And to anyone else, to anyone listening, also, it's been really fun. So thanks for listening. And if you want to contact either me or Jay, we're on Facebook. It's easy to find.
For sure. I'll put links in the description.
Okay, cool. Thanks. All right,
dude.
man.
Have a good night. Peace out.
Awesome.
Hey yo, welcome to Beyond the Mat, where it's all about the things and stuff. It's like this and like that. Sitting in a lotus seat, we breathe deep from our heads to our feet till we feel inner heat. A little bit of rhythm for your soul, stretching out your minds from your head to your toes. We in our flow state, we don't know no hate. We into feeling great though, so we correlate. Coil snake gonna rise, sunshine. We take our time to appreciate divine grace. It takes place in a pace in them interstates. From a country road down to the interstate, we contemplate this. We here to make this. We here to break this. But we never fake this. We never hate kids. We in the love vibe. Me and my whole tribe. We gonna try to be fly with the sunshine. Yeah. That's right. Uh-huh. Just vibe. Taking time to design what is mine, what is yours in the course of a force. But we never skip the chores, we skip the course. We hit the floors with a little stretchy poo. When I do me and you can do you, boo. We think we're